Preventing child abuse is a community effort. Hi, my name is Lindsay Schneider, and the topic that I chose for my final project for this semester is what is the community's role in preventing child abuse? I chose this topic because I think that it's one of the most important pieces to the whole problem of child abuse. And I think that there's a lot more things we could be doing as a community to get more people involved than just mandated reporters. So this presentation is going to give a little of what I think we could do better in the community and to educate more people out there. According to Human Services, one of the main problems when it comes to high rates of child abuse in the United States could be blamed on the lack of education along with poverty, violence between family members, inadequate housing, and much more. What is the difference between abuse and discipline? How do I report suspected abuse? What do I do after I make the report? And what are signs a child might display if they are being abused or neglected? If we were to better educate everybody in the community, including parents, neighbors, strangers, and even children, we could decrease child abuse rates and dramatically change the lives of many children. A solution to this problem would simply be to educate more people than just your typical mandated reporter who work with children and families on a daily basis. We should be able to go into workplaces, neighborhoods, sports teams, anywhere and give basic classes on symptoms and signs of child abuse, what to look for, and what to do if you suspect. We could also start making parenting and child development classes mandatory for expecting parents, which could decrease abuse and neglect rates because a lot of times parents are just not able to manage their stress and they don't even understand basic developmental tasks that are happening with their new child. This picture shows reports made in Greene County in 2014 by Career. Notice most of them are made by some career where contact with the child is direct. Parents' lack of basic education can be very harmful for their children. Also, parents need to be able to understand basic development, know how to manage their children and stress that comes along with having kids, and the difference between discipline and punishment. We also need to educate more people on whether they are mandated reporters or not based on their career. And if they are, they should complete the mandated reporter training, which goes about how to identify abuse, how to report, and what to do after a report. Even if you are not a mandated reporter, you should become educated on child abuse because you are more than likely have children around you in some aspect of your life. Also, communities need to be more educated, such as neighbors who have children living around them, people not working directly with children, such as mailmen or pizza delivery men, as well as educate children about their own safety. In 2014, there were 68,000 total reports made, and including those reports was 102,000 children. Mandated reporters made up 65% of the reports, and permissive reporters made up 35%. This tells me that it's very important to educate the community because they make up a good portion of the people that report abuse in Missouri. Having neighborhood info nights, going into work establishments that don't necessarily work with children directly, or having classes for new parents would help educate the entire community as a whole and allow them to make more reports and children. Oftentimes we hear of people not reporting child abuse because they're unsure of what they saw, they don't want to get involved, or they fear that reporting will make the situation worse. If we educated more people on what exactly to look for, they would be more confident in reporting and we could save a lot of children. Informing the community about unusual signs, such as wearing long sleeves if it's hot out, doesn't seem to attach to their parents, they have bad hygiene, or they display knowledge of sexual things that is inappropriate for their age, and all of these things could be taken differently than signs of abuse. If you are not a mandated reporter, you are able to stay anonymous if you want in the state of Missouri. When you are making the report, you want to make sure that you have the name of the child, the name of the parent, who is allegedly abusing them, and where the child can be found. You also will be asked if the child is in a life-threatening situation. How do you know about the abuse? Did you or others witness the abuse? If so, who? You also want to make sure that if the child discloses abuse to you, that you are able to first remain calm and let the child tell you what happened in their own words. Remember to use appropriate language for the child's age so that they can understand, and remind the child that it's not their fault, and then immediately make the phone call. Education about how to report abuse and neglect and how to identify the signs are aimed at mandated reporters and those people that are working with children on a daily basis. We saw from earlier that a good portion of reports are made from permissive reporters, so why do we not aim our education towards everybody? We could start by holding neighborhood information nights, go into workplaces and give classes about the signs and symptoms and what to do. We could also educate children on what is right and wrong when it comes to their safety. A journal article titled Prevention of Child Abuse, The Future of Children mentions how public awareness messages are all around us for smoking, drinking, drugs, and wearing seatbelts, but nowhere do we see important messages about preventing child abuse. Some of the risk factors that are associated with child abuse are being in poverty, being a teen parent, unrealistic expectations, and using physical punishment, using different substances, and lack of social network around you. A lot of times people are just thrown into this thing we call parenting and have no knowledge of how to take care of a child or what's going to be happening at different stages of development. Parenting classes that teach developmental at different ages, basic parenting skills such as feeding, diaper changing, or even how to hold a baby correctly, could decrease the rates of abuse and neglect. Teaching developmental classes will help the parents create realistic expectations for their child. Also have the soon-to-be parents take classes on managing stress so that they have the tools they need to relax when needed instead of taking their anger out on their children. Most of the population is not a mandated reporter, so why do we only require education for child abuse for just those select few? That just seems ridiculous. There are so many opportunities we have to get education out there, such as church organizations, neighborhood info nights, universities, gyms, or doing trainings at different places. If more people knew the signs of abuse, what to do, and how to report, we could help a lot of children in the future. Whether you work with children or not, majority of us are in contact throughout some part of our life with children, so we need to know how to protect them. Children never had the opportunity to have any education about abuse when they're growing up, because all they know is what's going on in their house. If they are being abused, they don't know any different. They don't understand why or how to stop it. It's just all they know. We should educate children about correct terminology so that there's no misunderstandings. They also need to know that not all adults are right, and they need to find a few adults that they trust and can talk to. Children need to know the difference between good touch and bad touch, and know that what is happening to them is not their fault. Oftentimes, parents go over all these things with children, but if the parents are the ones doing the abusing, who is going to educate the children? We could go into schools and create classes that help each age of children understand the details of their safety. According to the Child Welfare Information Gateway, these protective factors have been linked to lower rates of child abuse. Nurturing and attachment between a parent and child provide trust and allow for a good feeling between the two. Knowledge of parenting skills and child development allow the parent to understand what the child is thinking and why they are acting in such a way. Being resilient for parents will allow them to manage stress, problem solve, and they will be able to direct their anger away from their child. Social connections will allow the parent to have help when needed and provide encouragement to them. Concrete supports such as food, clothing, and transportation are all needed to take care of a child, and the ability to communicate with others and self-regulate are less likely to be abusive. These protective factors support why we should educate the entire community around us instead of just focusing on mandated reporters. As a member of the community, how can you help children around you? Knowing your neighbors can be a good way to get to know the children and be able to recognize when something is just not right. Reaching out to children around you and asking them how they're doing is a simple way to communicate with children, and you can maybe end up helping them if they need it. Being an active member in the community will allow you to get to know more people and be that trusted adult children can look up to. And participating in educational trainings so you know the signs of child abuse will allow you to be able to know the information yourself and share them with others around you. And then these are my references.